Hello, my dear students. Today, under label of first paper, we'll talk about the procedure for retrenchment and re-employment of retrenched workmen and disciplinary action. And both the topics we will cover under Industrial Disputes Act 1947. This is video lecture 39. And both the topics are under unit number 4. So let's talk about the procedure for retrenchment and re-employment of retrenched work. See, my dear students, procedure for calculation of retrenchment compensation while effecting a retrenchment of the workman, it is obligatory on the part of the employer to pay retrenchment compensation at the rate of 15 days wages for every completed year and to be calculated at the last drawn salary of an employee. And the Industrial Dispute Act 1947 provides certain benefits to the retrenched workman as per section 25H of the Act. A workman retrenched from employment should be given the first preference in the cases of fresh employment by the same employer. Section 25H of the Act states that where any workmen are retrenched and the employer proposes to take into his employer any person, he shall in such manner as may be prescribed give an opportunity to the retrenched workmen who are citizens of India to offer themselves for re-employment. And such retrenched workmen who offer themselves for re-employment shall have preference over the other persons. So, my dear students, if means you talk about the retrenched workmen, then section 25H of the Act states that where any workmen are retrenched and the employer proposes to take into his employ any persons, he shall in such a manner as may be prescribed give an opportunity to the retrenched workmen first who are citizens of India to offer themselves for re-employment, and such retrenched workmen who offer themselves for re-employment shall have preference over other person. So the retrenched workman would be giving a preference when we talk about the re-employment for that retrenched workman. And in terms of the Offers Act provisions, what we have discussed in the previous slide, in order to avail the benefits enshrined therein, it is necessary for the retrenched workman to be a citizen of India and to offer himself or herself for re-employment at the time when the former employer provides an opportunity for re-employment. Needless to say, there is no need to say though, but the workman must have been retrenched and not dismissed, discharged or superannuity. So we are talking about this re-employment in case of when the workman must have been retrenched and not dismissed, discharged or superannuated. And the procedure for intimating a retrenched workman in cases of new vacancies is prescribed in Rule 78 of the Industrial Disputes, the Central Rules 1957. And the same makes it obligatory on the part of the employer to intimate a retrenched workman with regard to any vacancy that may arise in the establishment. The Supreme Court, in the case of management of Barara Cooperative Marketing Processing Society Limited versus Workman Pratap Singh, and elucidated the application of section 25H of the Industrial Disputes Act 1947. And in this case, the workman was the respondent, had started working as a peon with a cooperative Marketing Society. And the Cooperative Marketing Society terminated the services of the workmen on 1st of July 1985, and the workmen challenged the termination in the labor code, and the labor code held the termination to be bad in law while awarding compensation of rupees 12,500 in lieu of reinstatement of services of the workman. And both the parties challenged the order of the labor code through separate writ petitions before the Punjab and Haryana High Court, and both the writ petitions were dismissed by the High Court, and the workmen subsequently accepted the initial compensation awarded by the labor court in lieu of reinstatement of service. So this is an important case. And the object behind the, enacting this section 25H of Industrial Disputes Act is to give preference to retrenched employee over other persons by offering them re-employment in the services when the employer takes a decision to fill up the new vacancies. So this section 25H of the ID Act is to give preference to a retrenched employee over the other person when we talk about the re-employment in the services. And the Honorable Supreme Court further observed that as per the facts of the case, the workman could not claim benefit under section 25H of the Industrial Disputes Act 1947, as he had already accepted compensation in lieu of reinstatement, and therefore this was not a case of retrenchment as contemplated in the section 25H of the Act. So, my dear students, further the Honorable Supreme Court held that it was a case of regularization of the services of the workmen who were already working with the Cooperative Marketing Society, and therefore it was not a case of the fresh vacancy to be filled. And the court observed that the regularization of an employee already in service does not give any right to the retrenched employee so as to enable him to invoke section 25H of the ID Act for claiming re-employment in the services. So my dear students, in this case, the regularization of an employee already in services does not give any right to the retrenched employee so as to enable him to invoke section 25H of the ID Act for claiming re-employment in the services. And the reason is that by such act, the employer does not offer any fresh employment to any person to fill any vacancy in their setup, but they simply regularize the services of an employee already in service. And such an act does not amount to filling any vacancy. So this is a very important point here. And there lies a distinction between the expression employment and regularization of the services. We can see that the expression employment signifies fresh employment to fill the vacancies, whereas the expression regularization of the service signifies the employee who is already in service. His services are regularized as per service regulations. And the Honorable Supreme Court has thus distinguished between regularization of services of workmen who are already working with an establishment from the act of filling up fresh vacancies. And it is distinctly clear from the aforesaid judgment that the benefit of preferential re-employment can be claimed by a retrenched workman only in case of filling up of a fresh vacancy and not otherwise. So this is again a very noticeable point given in this case by the Honorable Supreme Court of India. And further, my dear students, I would just like to emphasize on this, that the Honorable Supreme Court has thus distinguished between regularization of services of a workman who are already working with an establishment from the act of filling up the fresh vacancies. And it is distinctly clear from the judgment that the benefit of preferential re-employment can be claimed by a retrenched workman only in case of filling up of fresh vacancy and not otherwise. So this is a very important point here. Now, my dear students, we talk about the discipline, because see, no organization can grow without discipline. If the means if discipline is being followed in the organization, then we can say that the organization is doing well, and means it would be a productive organization. So the practice of training people to obey rules or a code of behavior using punishment to correct disobedience, we call discipline. I repeat, my dear students, the practice of training people to obey rules or a code of behavior using punishment to correct disobedience. And why we are discussing here this topic, discipline, because it is having a greater importance, because a discipline brings a stability and a structure into a person's life even. It teaches a person to be responsible and respectful. The observance of well-defined rules is the basis of society, and it promotes good human behavior to a better society and make it more enjoyable place for everyone to live. So this is the significance, this is the importance of the discipline in an organization. Discipline ensures the individuals maintain silence at workplace and work as a single unit with their team members to achieve organizational goals and objectives. Discipline is important as it binds the employees and also motivates them to respect their organization. Now, we would like to discuss here the reasons of indiscipline in the organization. So, what are the reasons? So, absence of proper training, maybe the big reason for the indiscipline in the organization, because the workers or the employees or the workmen, they are not aware about the uh, work culture or how to take up a work at workplace. Discontented worker, once the worker is not satisfied, there may be the different reasons for the dissatisfaction. This will also lead to the indiscipline at the workplace. Ignorance of rules and regulations, uh, physical, mental incapabilities sometimes may be the reason for the indiscipline at the workplace or in the organization. Instigation by trade unions. Trade unions, they want to disturb the smooth functioning of the organizations, and they may instigate the employees or the workmen sometimes for indiscipline, creating indiscipline. And absence of indiscipline, handling mechanism, because sometimes in the organization means we do not have the rules regulations that how we will handle the indiscipline at the workplace. So this may also lead to the indiscipline at the workplace. And sometimes the unfavorable work conditions also distract the workers or the workmen, and they may also go for the indiscipline. Now there are few indicators also, like the absenteeism is very high, insubordination, these juniors are just not obeying these seniors, or habitual late coming of the workmen, disobeying rules, standing orders they are not following, misappropriation of the organizational funds, overstaying leaves, misconducts. So these are these certain things which can straightway tell us that yes, there are different issues related to the indisciplines at the workplace. Standing orders to be followed and procedure to handle the indiscipline is very much essential at the workplace. And while we are talking about the uh, discipline at the workplace, we should ensure the principles of natural justice as well. We should go for the serving of the charge sheet as well, holding domestic inquiries, serving show cause notice. So standing orders we should follow while we are talking about all those disciplinary procedures, whether we are talking how to handle the indiscipline or the principle of natural justice or the serving of the charge sheet, holding domestic inquiry, serving show cause notices, or order of the punishment. Now, my dear students, let's talk about the charge sheet content, because see, charge sheet contains the memorandum of the charges that and you need to specify in the charge sheet itself that what is the memorandum of charges, on what grounds you are just going for those charges. And a statement of allegations has to be there, because a statement of allegation we should not omit, because a state of allegation is means if the workman has not done something which he was supposed to do, or he was supposed to do under some obligation, he omitted something. So this statement of allegation should be for omissions, for misconducts, for negligence by the workman. And one more thing here I would like to highlight, my dear student, that is related to give exact idea of the omission or the misconduct of the negligence in the charge sheet. While you are just framing those charges, give on emphasis to the that what sort of omission was there, what was the misconduct, or what was the negligence by the work. And then charges labeled should be specifically labeled, and there should not be any ambiguity or any confusion while you are labeling the charges. And name of persons manhandled should be specific. It should not be dubious or confused. Confusion should not be there. It should be very much clear. Time of misconduct should be exact. It should not be, approximately or something like that. You need to mention the exact timings of the misconduct, because later on it would be difficult, while means the workman would be just making his or her statements. And the amount of misappropriated, the amount which was misappropriated, that should be a specific sum. It should not be again means in confusion, like we should clearly mention the amount which was misappropriated is the case is related to the misappropriation of funds. And further, my dear students, charge sheet for using offending language should contain exact word used. If some workman has used some offending language, then we should go for the exact wording what he has used. So these are the certain contents of the charge sheet, my dear students. So whenever you are, framing any charge sheet, you should keep in your mind that all these points, what we have discussed here, what we have highlighted, should be given proper emphasis. I repeat for your convenience, my dear students, charge sheet content. There has to be the memorandum of charges, and there has to be the statement of allegations where it is related to the omission of any act or the misconduct or the negligence, and give the exact idea of omission or the misconduct and the negligence to the in the charge sheet. And charges labeled should be specifically labeled, as I told you, that what misconduct, what omission, what negligence the workman has done, and the name of the person's manhandle should be specific, and time of misconduct should be exact, proper, and the misappropriated amount should be specific sum while you are mentioning the charge sheet. And the charge sheet for using offending language should contain exact wordings which the workman has used. So this is all about the important contents of the charge sheet, which we should give a due emphasis. So this is all about for today's lecture, my dear students. We have talked about the indiscipline reasons, and what is the importance of discipline in the organization, and what should be the content of the charge sheet. And we have also discussed that what should be the compensation for the retrenched person, and what would be the procedure for the re-employment of a retrenched workman. So this is all for today's lecture, my dear students. I believe today's lecture will help you and will give you an insight about the procedure for retrenchment and the re-employment of a retrenched workman, and the about the disciplinary action, especially about the charge sheet contents and the reasons for the indiscipline at the workplace or in the organization. So thank you so much, my dear students. And now we'll meet in the next lecture with some new topic. Thank you so much. Have a nice time. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Take care.